Bowlers are being scammed.
Or are you? Bowling is an expensive sport for numerous reasons. Bowling balls, shoes, whatnot usually add up to being pretty expensive over time. Well, I think it's best to think about it this way. It's expensive to start, but once you get going, it's pretty cheap to keep going unless you're in the PBA or some other professional tournament circuit. Recently, I came across this video by the channel The Right Lane, and it had me intrigued. I had seen some of his content in the past, so I was interested in what he had to say. He made this video before I even made this channel, but when I was recommended it again a couple months ago, I decided to give it a go. And I've been sitting on this video for quite a while. And before we watch this video, I want to just say that the thumbnail is not very good and it's very clickbait. But for the sake of this video, I'll skip past it and we'll get to the point.
The balls themselves are pretty expensive, and when you add in drilling, will easily set you back a couple of $100 a piece.
Yes, bowling balls are expensive. That much is very obvious. But did you hear that he said that they come to easily a couple $100 a piece? Now, I don't want to make assumptions, but unless he's talking about Monopoly money, this is not. Most modern bowling balls are about 150 to 250 USD when drilled, which is nowhere near the amount he suggests barely 30 seconds into this video.
You seem to need to buy 5 or 6 bowling balls for a decent tournament, simply do not last. And that is the big scam. These bowling balls are simply not built to last, and you'll find yourself having to replace them before long. Let me show you a picture that will break the heart of all bowlers out there.
Resin likes to crack. Yes, it does crack in bad conditions. Balls are meant to be stored at room temperature in regular environments. Not too hot, not too cold, leaving it in normal temperatures. Yes, balls might crack, but it's usually the fault of the owner. He does acknowledge this point, but says that the balls cracking is unacceptable. Most factory balls will come with warranties for the pro shop, and a bad pour is then protected if it cracks.
That these balls should last for at least a reasonable period of time. But if we just leave the cracking aside, they just don't seem to last that long anymore. These new reactive balls, I mean, they just soak up the oil like a sponge, and before long, they just start to really lose their reaction before becoming dead. Now, you can still obviously use these bowling balls and you can still have some success, but in terms of the performance, you just notice a significant dip in performance of the reaction of a ball after a very short period of time.
Bowling balls can lose performance for multitudes of reasons, and oil is the easiest to deal with. I don't know why he has spent so much time complaining about it.
Urethanes, I would argue, that do tend to last longer. However, the PBA have recently banned the use of any urethane ball that is older than 6 months. Now, the PBA say that it's because back in August 2022, there were changes that were made to the hardness of urethane balls that were being manufactured from that point on. They also claim that the hardness of urethane changes over time, and they want to prevent this. And while this certainly could be true, the very cynical part of me wonders if this just isn't another way to encourage bowlers to keep spending money on more bowling balls.
Then we get to his thesis, the urethane ban. It only matters in the PBA and certain events where they will actually care, but they do get softer over time, meaning they will not meet hardness standards after about 6 months to a year, which is an issue. Ball soaking used to be super popular and it was banned because it made balls soft, giving an unfair advantage. This is the issue with urethane. It is not a matter of the factories trying to scam you, it's a matter of the ball not meeting hardness standards.
If you want to play PBA events and you're a big urethane user and you do not have a sponsorship deal, you're going to have to keep buying new urethane balls at least every 6 months.
He also mentions PBA bowlers. They do have to rebuy bowling balls. That is mainly just the current culture of the PBA at the moment. Pros get new bowling balls for the highest possible performances during tournaments, and that has proven to work to a certain degree. I highly doubt that the league will start to enforce bowling ball checks within every 3-4 months unless you are in a much higher level league than the average like Saturday night league.
But this scam isn't just about bowling balls. It's actually prevalent in all of our products that we use in our lives now.
Okay, so these next few points just seem unrelated, but he does talk about how things seem to be bad in the now times, but were better back in the day. First thing he mentions, cell phone battery life. It can be increased in a multitude of ways. I do agree that they get worse, but only when you are using them consistently throughout the day, versus a bowling ball that you might only throw for about an hour every couple of days. Even for the avid bowler, they're still not throwing the ball every second of the day like some people do with their phones.
In terms of electronics, it's becoming more and more difficult to fix these things yourself. I think on a lot of new phones, you can't even remove the battery now. So in the old days, 10, 15, 20 years ago, you could just take the back off, put a new battery in. But in the new phones for a while, that they've kind of stopped that, and now obviously if you have an issue, you have to send it off for repair. And these repairs, obviously, they're not cheap. It's a lot more expensive than it would be to just buy a replacement battery and do it yourself.
This statement is just incorrect. You can still remove phones on new batteries, and they're built to last. However, in the age of screens, it is not enough to have a battery that lasts 2 to 3 years of constant use, especially when people are addicted to their phones, using them for insane amounts of time. Modern phones use insane amounts of power. To replace the batteries like the old phones, you'd have to replace it near every other day.
There does seem to be this notion now that bowlers need to keep buying more and more balls because that's what the pros are doing. A pro can go ahead and drill a new set of balls for each tournament if they wanted, and a lot of them, that's exactly what they do. But they obviously can do this because they're sponsored, and they either get the balls for free, or if not, for a very low cost. So if you haven't got a sponsor, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to afford to fund this yourself.
Pros need new bowling balls to prepare for every single situation. You can win locals and regionals with older equipment. Also, the average bowler is not a professional, so stop making this claim, because it just seems misleading to suggest that the average bowler needs bowling balls at this rate. They do not.
But I don't think this is just my imagination, because I've heard people say very similar things about random products, and a number of videos that I've posted lately, people have commented saying that they're buying these bowling balls, but they just don't seem to be lasting very long. So it does seem to be a genuine problem and a concern for a lot of bowlers out there.
Equipment does degrade slightly faster than before, but oil extractions and resurfaces, even applying surface, can restore ball to its fabulous beginnings. Bowlers, for the most part, can agree that they got a good amount of use out of most of their bowling balls, excluding the balls that were faulty from their obtainment. Overall, I think this video is extremely poor quality. The arguments founded in evidence are not very strong, and it gives off the vibe that he just needed a video as soon as possible, turned on the microphone, and started yapping. Now, Right Lane, if you're watching this, first of all, thank you for being a figure in the bowling YouTube space. You're some of my inspiration to start, because I saw people like you making videos and I decided to give it a go. Next, I want to say you could do better on some of your older thumbnails. They're pretty clickbait, and I feel like they could use an update. Yes, I know my thumbnails are not the best, but I feel like yours could definitely be improved to just make your viewers' experience a little better. And finally, if you want to debate this further, leave a comment and tell me more. For everyone else, thanks for sticking through this video. Hope to see you guys soon.